Hello, my name is Lou,
And I'm Katie.
and you're listening to Files from the Other Side. This week, we're opening up the files on.
Astrology.
So, my sun sits in Aquarius, my moon is in Virgo, my rising is Leo, which means I have the water bearer as an air sign, a fire sign, and an earth sign. I'm basically the avatar bitch because in the main three, I got all four elements.
That's true because Aquarius water bearer, but an air sign, so you got both accounted for. Oh my god. Oh shit. Oh shit, motherfucker. We are in the presence of greatness. Y'all better be grateful.
Be one with God or
Bow
not.
down. All hail.
Anyways.
That's really fun.
I know, isn't it?
I am a Pisces in my sun sign. My moon is in Aries and my rising is Sagittarius. So I am basically a fire sign, actually.
Yeah. She says
A firebender, as I always wanted to be.
Yeah.
Because so I could, well, I always said I want to be a firebender so I could breathe fire when people say things that I find displeasing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And yes, you should have that ability. I do believe that would be your ability.
I think I smoked for as long as I did so that I could retain that ability.
Hey, more power to you.
Yeah.
Well, so we took a break for the holiday season.
I mean, we needed it. Y'all can just suck it up because it was a time. It was a fucking time.
Honestly, and thank you for letting us take the break because, like she said, we fucking needed it. And a lot of stuff has gone down for me in the last couple weeks. Even when life stuff happens too, spiritually things feel like they change.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It's like the fucking the veil is it the apocalypse when the veil gets lifted, when things it changes spiritually because then you're like, oh shit, I see this from a completely different angle and need to adjust my needs and practices accordingly. I need to I'm going through a thing where I'm figuring out what kind of do I stay in these particular relationships?
Yes.
Or do I stay in this particular relationship or cut it out and just have really hard boundaries, or do I cut it out completely because it's truly not none of it is serving my highest good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe that is your boundary. Maybe the cutting off is the boundary, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to decide those things, because sometimes things are better shed. But that brings me into the story I was going to tell you about a tarot reading that I just got today. I got home from my LA vacation. I go to LA every Christmas, mostly every Christmas, or my LA comes to me. Either way, Christmas is always about my chosen family. And this year I came home feeling very confused for a lot of reasons. I just got engaged to my partner and I noticed some spiritual stuff was changing. I noticed as soon as I got home, I started downloading. I'm a psychic medium, so this isn't strange for me to feel. But for the last couple days, I have been getting rest to try to match the downloading energy that's happening, right? And I finally feel myself again. I finally feel a little bit more refreshed. And I was asking a couple of my friends to do tarot readings for me because I was I don't really want to read tarot for myself. I don't want to know what I have to say, even if it's my highest good. I'm I don't know if I want to hear it from myself necessarily. It does on a level help to hear it from other people sometimes, because then it makes certain things, especially if you want to confirm what you're already feeling, it makes it more real.
I also feel they have when you have other friends that do it, they'll say something from their they'll have a reading on something and you can, when they read for you, you can know instinctively you can hear them say something and be like, oh, I know that's actually not the thing, but here's what I think the thing is, and that can lend a kind of a better clarity or confirmation.
And so I basically when I asked my friend Cheyenne to do a quick pull for me, and I asked her I just told her some stuff that was happening, and I'm not going to get into that, but she basically told me, like, you know, I can see your insecurities and I can tell that you do not need to make a decision right now about anything. Like, she was like, don't make a decision. And then the next day, Haley turns to me and we're talking about something completely different. And I didn't tell her what Cheyenne was reading me about. And she turns to me and says, in a completely different conversation, she says, don't make a decision. So I got it like twice within 24 hours to not make a decision about certain things. So I decided, okay, not making a decision. Like, I'm just going to let those things rest. Like, those things. And I'll tell you off the air what they were, because I think you're going to be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Let the river run its course a little longer and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. But then I asked my friend Amanda, because I'd been feeling some other energies, like, trying to come through lately. Like, it's not like it's coming through now. And the reason I was asking her about it is because I'm trying to be strategic. And this is what she named. She's like, you need strategy. And I'm like, I want to be strategic. And that's what came from the reading. But I'm unsure what the strategy is in smaller parts. I'm thinking very big picture. Like, I know I have 3 things to do this year in 2025 that need to get accomplished before the end of the year. And also I'm getting married this year. And so I know these are like, yeah, these are the ultimate goals, right? They're the big picture things. But within these like things, I need a strategy on how to get them done. And so when she said like she had seen her oracle cards, and I was like, it looks like a lot of moving pieces to me. Like, it looks like all the things that I've been trying to do. And I had asked her basically if there is a deity that's trying to reach out to me, or a spirit or something that's trying to reach out to me, and I'm not really getting the message, because what I thought was that I had to venerate a spirit to do these things. I thought that was part of the strategy. And so when she read me, she was like, you just need to be patient. You have like shiny object syndrome. You need to like hone in on some stuff. So I really appreciated Cheyenne's and Amanda's reading, because when I hear these things for myself through tarot, right? Don't make a decision. Slow down. Focus. I find it so hard to take seriously, because I'm like, I already know these things. These are the things I beat myself up about constantly. You know, I don't like to hear it from a friend who's just like, yes, the spirit is like trying to guide you. If you do these things, it's necessary. I take it a little bit more like, okay, this is what's good for me, because it's not just coming from an internal insecure place. It's coming from the spirits actually, like, and so it was nice to confirm it, you know? So
I want to know what those things are, because like I was doing literally last night, I was like writing down, I haven't done any intention setting yet for 2025. Like my friend Katie and I meant to on Monday, and then we ended up doing more like reflecting on our year and like wading through some intentions like for her and stuff. Like, I mean, it took me 45 minutes of doing this last night to like get to where I was, like, and I don't know that I'm fully finished, but been reading over the last few days about like intention setting for like bullet journaling and stuff. I did my first bullet journal. So I kept my first bullet journal for a year. I've been doing it on and off for the last like 5-6 years, almost 6 years at this point, because it's 2019. Like, I was still drinking when I tried to do bullet journaling for the first time. I was reading this article about intention setting versus like goal setting and stuff like that, and like because intentions, like, goals might not get met and your priorities might change, circumstances of your living might change, blah, blah, blah. But intentions are like, you know, just more general. Like, it's not necessarily a specific thing. Like, it can be like, what was I doing? It's like composting worms. That's something I want to set up this year. I want to set up a rain catch system, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, so how do I, those are goals, which we can't beat. I don't want to beat myself up if I don't get to that. But what's the intention? The intention is, I want to conserve more, consume less. I want to live like, I was like, I want to do, I'm trying to get like more of a lunar practice, trying to practice more Judaism. So I was like, why don't I do a Rosh Chodesh party? Like, that's the lunar new year. I mean, not the new year, but the new moon every month is like a minor holiday in Judaism. And that's a night, and that's a big part of a lunar practice, is like celebrating the new moons and the phase of the moon and stuff. And I was like, well, a party every month, that sounds lovely. Like, an intention setting party sounds great. But like, what the intention actually is I want to spend more time developing like spiritual practices and like in community. Like, instead of just like being like, I'm going to throw this part, like, what I want is probably more female energy, spiritual practices, more community. Like, So maybe that those three things, like I don't know what the goals are. So like, and then probably one of them is has to do with your mission. So we can't change that. But there's a way to like translate your goals into intentions that might help it feel like less moving parts or might help develop
Yeah.
a strategy.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense to me. Intention has a lot to do with magic. Like I'm sure that article probably said it if it was talking about it.
It was about bullet journaling, so
Oh, so
no.
never mind.
It was fully
But
about bullet journaling.
yeah, the best magic you can do is when you set an intention before you move on. And whatever spell work you do around that, especially if it includes like writing out something. Like you can write out your all that other stuff you want to get out and into the spell, but you have to set an intention. And I just pick a word sometimes with my spell work. And like the reading that I got from Amanda, she literally said you have to do more spell work. And I told her, I said, one of the things I'm very scared of is that I'm very powerful with spell work. I don't use much. I don't consume much. Even though those things are true, my I can feel my spells from miles away. Like it's just, I get scared sometimes exerting my power because although I believe
That's the patriarchy. You've been taught to do that.
Right?
Ignore
Like,
them.
although I believe I'm very powerful, I don't often empower myself to make big moves like that. And so for her to say you need to make the big move, I was like, yes, you're right. It's on the mission, right? It's on the mission. Like I have to be like pretty strategic about what happens, but like I need organization. I need order. And
Yeah.
at least like that can be an intention that I set, right? Is like to improve the order in my life in which I do things and to respect the order, honor the order. So, wow, this has been a very fruitful conversation because I truly feel it's like paranormal, supernatural, spiritual, right? Like
Yeah.
I have been having this conversation for days now and the conversation with the world is not ending, right? Like, I talked to you, I talked to Haley, I talked to Amanda, Cheyenne, all these people, right?
You're probably going to talk to all of us a few more times about it, if not
Exactly.
multiple times about it.
And like, okay, this is the coolest part, right? Is like, we're world building. Like, on a basic level, one of my intentions is to like really interact like with the world in real ways, like that brings spirit from the realm of the unseen to the seen. And I it's not like it's like that's my mission. It's just that it's easier to operate for my own sake if I sort of do it that way, because that's kind of how I think the world has reflected on me enough to do that. Right? Like, whenever I approach people with spirit, I tend to not want to prove it to them, but it ends up getting proved in the long term. Like when I, like, you know, like when I was talking to somebody about this, maybe it was you, but like sometimes when people learn things like that spirit is real or that like magic is real, like you can tell them a million times and you can be however communicative you want about it, but sometimes it takes time to register. Sometimes it takes time. You got to sit with that.
Yeah.
And you got to decide for yourself how that works in your own world.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like I definitely have impatience enough that I like to rush into things, but I recognize the need in others to sort of sit back, take the rest, take it all in, absorb, and then output, right?
Yeah. My Oracle decks and tarot cards the last few days have been talking about community and creative, like do like creative projects is like a collective thing, like being a part of a community, doing things, creative things in that way. And like I love that you were like, this is world building, because like this is all my garden videos that I was watching this week, you know, learning for when we have a property somewhere and a farm and are providing for ourselves and living off the fucking grid. You know,
it may come sooner than we think, baby.
I'm like, fuck, I want it to. Like,
I don't know. Like I
need to start saving up money for that though.
You know, well, I have like two things about it, okay? One, 2025 has weird astrology. Like I can't begin to like start there because that would be a whole nother episode. So I'm not going to say anything besides 2025 has weird astrology. So we're in it to win it, honey. Like I think like the more we can world build, the more we can set intention, the more we can strategize our missions. Like these are the things that 2025 is calling on.
Yeah.
Because I think 2026 gets a little weirder. Like,
Okay.
I think we're leveling up here. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna dip. I think
No.
we're very much on a stepping stone of
We're
stuff.
ramping up. Like we were making preparations last year, like starting the podcast, and like I don't know about you, but like me for like getting some groundwork laid for like researching all the herbs for my teas that I use, so I can start actually so that I can have an informative website when I eventually set up my website for my teas and my fucking beauty products that I make. And like I want to start selling those at some point. That's a way that I can make money, like to save up for our plot of land. But yeah, I also like I was like doing it, looking at goals. I don't brush my teeth every day. I don't stretch. It's quitting smoking has brought to my attention. I almost certainly need ADHD medication.
Don't we all?
Like,
No,
there's
same.
some we're gonna keep doing the world building, but there's also some more like I feel like and let me know if I'm overstepping my bounds. I'm like I feel like everybody has some personal foundation that we're still laying before we get which is still world building. We're still world building, but it's gonna be more collective later in the year and into 2026. I feel like I haven't looked
Into
at
the
the
next
astrology
20 years, actually.
All right. Is that because of the Saturn or Jupiter return
Pluto.
or Pluto? Thank you. I was like, which planet did you research?
No, Saturn's gonna be done with its return soon.
Yeah.
Like, within the next year.
Yeah.
But Pluto moved into Aquarius. Pluto moved into Aquarius recently, but it'll stay there for 20 years.
Okay.
But like all this being said, do you want to give your thesis? Because I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear some background.
Okay, so I, of course, as always, I was just like what's the historical side of the zodiac? What does it actually mean? Where did it come from? Who do we blame or praise? Whichever you want to do.
Who do we blame? Who do all this early 2000s magazine girlies blame?
Cosmo, just Cosmo. We can blame Cosmopolitan for a lot of. I remember, real quick side note before I get into it. I remember one of my roommates in college was like trying to pursue this guy, and she like was like, he doesn't like me, like he kept calling me dude, like blah blah blah, and all this shit. And I was like, you read too much Cosmo as a teenager. I have had a motherfucker inside me and still called me dude. Like it's not a thing.
I love the raunchy. I love it when we get raunchy. This is an adult-only podcast.
Okay, so the zodiac. In case you didn't read too much Cosmo as a teenager, the zodiac is belt-shaped region of the sky that extends 8 degrees north and south of the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the apparent path of the sun across the celestial sphere over the course of a year. As it stands now, the one that we're familiar with is divided into 12 signs, occupying about 30 degrees of the celestial longitude. Theoretically, but like Libra is tiny. Like it doesn't actually like there's a couple really, really small constellations that like don't, and Libra doesn't take up 30 degrees, but we give it 30 degrees anyway. And Babylonians originated this concept in the first millennium BCE.
What is millennium? Can you remind me? Is that
millennium is 1,000 years? Yeah.
1,000? Okay, thank you.
So like 1000 BCE, we're doing this. We're star charting. I think the title of their codex was the Malapin. And Egypt. Okay, actually, this is interesting. 14th century BCE, Egypt had 36 deacons, like 10 degrees, in the tomb of Seti the First. So this is like ancient ass shit. That we're doing. Everyone's been obsessed with. I mean, there wasn't TV. What did you have to do at night? Fuck or look at the stars. Like, or both. Maybe there was potentially drugs. It's like living in the country. Like, what do you do? Fucking do drugs. Like, that's it. So the Babylonian one starts with the Bull of Heaven, Taurus, what we call now. And the concept of the Bull of Heaven is probably from Ishtar, releasing that on Gilgamesh. In the Gilgameshian epic, there's also, so the next is the Loyal Shepherd of Heaven, which is our precursor to Orion. Orion is parazodiacal, which means it's not actually on our zodiac, but it's close to it. The Old Man is another Babylonian constellation. It's in the Greek. It's Perseus, also parasidiacal. The Scimitar is the Greek Auriga. Again, these are all parasidiacal because there are 17 constellations in the Babylonian. But the next one that we know for sure that we would recognize, the Great Twins, Lugal, Ira, and Meslanta, Ea. They're twins. They're guardians of doorways, and effigies are sometimes burned and then buried under doorways for like protection of them. So Gemini, obviously, Castor and Pollux, sons of Leda, brothers of Helen and Troy. They also guarded doorways and spend time in the underworld. And then there's the crayfish, Cancer. He's been a few different kinds of crustaceans. I have some of the fucking constellations are linked to the 10 labors, the 10 labors of Heracles, excuse me, not the Romans. Heracles. Not the Romans. He's a Greek hero. I will use his Greek name. Yeah, like Cancer, like one of the stories around Cancer is that Hera uses a crab to distract Heracles when he's like fighting with Hydra. So that's why. And then Cancer became a constellation. The lion potentially has been identified as a lion in other star charts since about approximately 4000 BCE. Actually, I forgot to say Taurus. Taurus is potentially, he's in Greek, he's often related to the Cretan bull. Potentially Io or Europa, because Zeus is an asshole.
Hey! I have candles lit!
God damn, but like, Zeus is such a fucking, like, he's a sexual predator, okay? Like, can we not call a spade a spade? Like,
A spade is a spade, okay. But Sky Daddy will smite you, like.
You're covering your mouth. Like, I can't let anyone see me say this out loud. Like, I forget which one he turns into. I think he turns Io into a cow, and then he uses, or I forget which one is which. They're both, but there's cow. He turns himself into a cow to fuck Europa or Io, and then he turns Europa or Io into a cow so that she can safely get away from Hera. I forget which one is which, but they're both associated with like cows and Zeus fucking women. He's not supposed to behind his wife's back. Can we call a spade a spade?
I won't say it's not fucking annoying. I won't say it's not a fucking character flaw here. Just
the god of fucking hospitality. Okay. I mean, it's not like inhospitable. I mean, but anyway. But Taurus potentially being a star sign that people look after. The point of this was potentially it's older than Babylon because in the caves of Lascaux, there's drawings of bulls, and they think that they potentially could be star charts of Taurus, which is about 15,000 BCE that was going on. So, yeah. Anyways, sorry. So the lion, potentially 4000 BCE, it's associated with lions. In Babylon, maybe Humbaba, which is a lion that like Gilgamesh fights. I'm pretty sure. I'm actually kind of now I'm fucking forgetting. I didn't write down who he was, but he's a thing. Leo in Greek, the Nemean lion, is who we associate that with. The seed furrow, Shala, Virgo. Shala, goddess of grain, fertility, compassion. She's either holding plants or a double mace, which is cool. Virgo, obviously, and then she's the goddess Astrea, goddess of justice, innocence, purity, and she lived with humans during the Golden Age and left in the Silver Age when war and money were invented. And she's supposed to come back with like this like child that's going to bring about like the new Golden Age. I just wrote down Messiah, because people Jesus-ified that fucking prophecy, obviously. Yeah. The scales, which is our Libra, the scales in Babylon are a sacred symbol of Shumash, patron god of truth and justice, twin to Ishtar. And then Libra. Actually, Libra was codified in honor of Julius Caesar by the Romans to signify the importance of justice. The Scorpion.
Okay. Who's justice, though, right?
Maybe.
Who's justice?
Right? Or maybe they're like, that wasn't cool that he became the dictator. But then Augustus was the dictator afterwards anyway, so...
Rome still fell.
The King's Justice. The Scorpion, or Scorpio, there's no Babylonian real myth. The animals don't really have myths behind them, but Scorpio in Greek does. It's connected to Orion because it was placed there to continue their eternal chase.
Interesting.
Because again, Zeus is an asshole. I'm not gonna learn. You're not safe.
I'm not safe. Great.
I'm sorry. I'll be cool. No, I also like so that's I remember from the Orion myth video on OSP. She talks about like the Orion is like chasing the Pleiades. Like that's like some of the girls like he was chasing in some of the versions of the story. Like he was chasing Artemis's followers, and that's why he got placed. That like the Scorpion like killed him. And then he got placed in the sky along with the Scorpion. But he's also, Orion is like facing the Pleiades too. And it like in the sky, it looks like he's like chasing the fucking girl still. And the Scorpion's chasing him. Very fun. Okay, so next we have the Overseer, or Pabalsag, consort of Gilgamesh's mother. He's potentially a god of like healing or something, but it's not as important as Gilgamesh. Centaur shape, but with wings, scorpion tail, and sometimes the head of a panther. So he's kind of like all over the place. Super old. This becomes Sagittarius.
Sagittarius is one of the most interesting ones to me. I'm not gonna lie. My wife is a double Sag. She's also a twin, and her twin is a double Sag. So there's quadruple Sag happening between them.
Quadruple Sag happening. Oh my god, that's a lot.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a few different like people that this could be. Like so, Pholus is one of Heracles' centaur friends. Chiron is another centaur that I'm completely forgetting his significance. Kratos, son of Pan and inventor of archery, depicted on a horseback. So it's like potentially it's also just a dude on a horse, fucking doing his archer thing.
Chiron is the wounded healer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're so welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad because I didn't write it down. Okay, so this is really exciting. Goatfish. The goatfish. Because the goatfish is a symbol of Ea, god of water, and creator of humanity in Babylonian. So he's a symbol of Ea, the like one of the fucking things, but I have a picture of like that's like a thing and like in Naples, like in the Romans, and during the Roman Empire he was still a goatfish, and it was cool. And I found like a relief in a floor talking about the astrology. So Capricorn becomes a Capricorn. So goat that took care of Zeus as a baby is one of the explanations for Capricorn and the goatfish. Or I love this one. It's Pan turned partially into a fish to run away from Typhon. Which is insane. Both of my parents are Capricorns.
My grandma's a Capricorn.
They're cool. I like goats also.
Is cool. I wonder what's in her chart.
Okay, we're at the Naples.
I'm least cool.
Finally at the Naples Archaeological Museum in my fucking photos. So, goatfish is nigh. Yeah, here it is. It is saved. I did save it because it's fucking cool. Goatfish.
Oh, sick. That is cool.
Okay, sorry about the fucking... So, the next one, Aquarius. Yours. Babylonian Ea, the Great One, blamed for flooding. That's like when like the flooding would happen, like in the time of the year. So that's one of the ones. Ea, again, the Great One. He invented humanity. Creator of humanity. I like saying he invented humanity. It's way weirder. Aquarius. Ganymede, beautiful Trojan prince that Zeus kidnapped to be his cupbearer.
Cupbearer. We'll say it's cupbearer. I'm sure it's something else bearer. More like
Exactly. Or if there's if it's tied to the Heracles, there could be potentially cleaning the Aegean stables because he diverts a river, so that's
Cool.
like flooding. And then okay, so there's a few things going on with these next few. For Pisces, because Pisces is kind of a weird like shape and it's huge. So it's either the tail and the great swallow in Babylon, or the tail of the great swallow, or a stag, or Ishtar herself.
Or
or it's like the tail of the great swallow and then also Ishtar or a stag. Anyways, so there's the Syrian hind in which is Artemis's stag that Heracles gets. But the thing that we all know and love is Pisces, my sign. Two fish tied together with a rope, and the Greeks say it's Aphrodite and Eros escaping Typhon's rampage as fish. Typhon's. Sorry, Typhon comes back up again. And then there's the farm worker, Babylonian in the Babylonian Aries. Babylonian farm worker. He's Tammuz, consort to Ishtar. Full-time dead guy, according to Overly Sarcastic Productions. And we associate that one Aries, golden ram, like from the Golden Fleece, from the Argonautica. So that's all of it. That took way longer than I was expecting. I'm so sorry, guys, but we went through it all. We did it. We done did it, y'all.
now you know. Also.
Now you know. You know?
Because here's the thing. I didn't know. And now I do. And it also brought a few things up for me, like, I'm not going to remember them right off the top of my head right now, because I do need to think about them later, but it's okay. And it was great, and I loved it, and truly, you are a scholar and a theologian.
Thank you. I try. I got that degree and everything. Well.
I won't say anything if you don't.
I'm not. I finished my program. I'm counting it. Fuck that.
Fuck higher education anyways. It costs too much money. It should be free.
I was literally about to be like, education should be free.
Side tangent. Okay, let's get into this stuff. So everyone knows your sun, your moon, and your rising. These are your big three. We've said it before and at the top of the episode. Your sun generally is a sign that reveals your life's purpose. It's where your main one that sits. When you say you're a blah, that's your sun sign usually you're naming. Your moon sign describes your body and your emotional world. And your rising sign highlights your motivation for living and your sense of self. So I'm going to go into rising signs a little bit because I've been passionate about rising signs. Like, I think it's because as I get older, I see where my sun, like my life's purpose becomes a little more clear, which means like I have to have the motivation and I have to learn about myself next. Like, and part of that is the life's purpose. None of this is ever isolated, obviously. You get a sun, moon, and a rising at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So none of it's really isolated. But the rising sign, or ascendant, as it's also called, is the zodiac sign that was on the eastern horizon when and where you were born. Your planet signs, like Mercury and Aquarius, are based on the Earth's revolution around the sun. Your rising sign is based on the Earth's rotation on its own axis. This changes every 2 hours, which gives the rising sign a lot of personal significance. It always corresponds with your first house, or the house of the self and vitality. Your ascendant reveals your motivation for being here being planet Earth. Your rising sign naturally compels you to the yellow brick road that leads to your life's purpose, as indicated by your sun. Your ascendant also tints your style and personal presence. This is the part I love. Because when people say, oh my God, like I wouldn't expect you're an Aquarius, or I wouldn't expect you're a Pisces, right? Mm-hmm. It's because your rising sign is presenting to them in the way you operate. They're seeing your rising sign first.
Really identify a lot. There was this one poetry collection called like Poetry for the Signs or something, and they were like, and she warned you that she was like, you're going to probably identify with your rising sign a lot. And I hardcore identified with the Sagittarius poetry. Like there's Sagittarius love to travel and love to explore and blah, 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 blah. And these are all things that I hardcore identify with.
Yeah.
I also am all the feelings at all times in one person and really identify with the duality and the ever-changing fluid nature of the Pisces. But, like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so
Quick
like
side note.
yeah, so like the ascendant is the unique imprint you leave on the world. So yeah, so a lot of people will say like because other people color our identity too, right? When people say you're so confident or you're so cool or you're so cute, it's like they say that because they see something in you and maybe you don't identify with that same word, but like it shows a part of you, right? It's that unique imprint you're leaving, and part of that's your rising sign. So I gave myself a little like reading, like, okay, my Leo rising. So I have creativity, authority, and power. I'm always looking for love, admiration, and applause. So basically, like, how I view Leo, like, in my rising sign is, like, these are a lot of things I want to be. Like, these are a lot of the things I'm, like, I want to be, not, like, I see Leo as kind of the star of the show, like, somebody who likes a lot of attention, and, like, I don't like a lot of attention for the sake of attention. Why I like attention is because I feel like I deserve respect, I deserve admiration for my creativity, and I have authority and power in showmanship. Not to say that I am a great showman. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm like the world's best Leo. I'm probably like a cool Leo. Like I'm one of those Leos that's like smoking a cigarette with like a, you know, like picture a lion smoking a cigarette with a leather jacket. Like that's me. The other lions are all wearing like sparkly sequins. So there's a very different like take I get on it. And you know, that's part of my Aquarius energy, right? It's like I'm dare to be different. Like I'm not going to be the same Leo that shows up, right?
No.
And so that's, I think, how a lot of people view me. And like that energy doesn't really shift like unless I discover something new in Leo that I'm like, oh my God, I want to strive towards this. I want to motivate myself towards this, right? So rising signs are really important, like I said, because they leave an impression. They're very, they're the strength, I want to say, there's like a strength in them that your sun doesn't illuminate all the time. Your sun, it's almost like I want to say it's too easy, like with just a sun reading, right? Like when you have your rising sign, it starts to like get robust.
I was gonna say it's like not you like too easy, but also it's like not even like the whole just not even the whole picture, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and I think when people get astrology readings or like they read from a horoscope, like you're saying, like the Cosmopolitan magazine type horoscopes, you're limiting yourself because what you could know is a plethora. Like Katie was just reading all that stuff about history, right? There's so much more to your chart than your sun sign and how you go about that.
well, also, guys, CoStar, so fun. Astrology app that like keeps in mind all this stuff. Like, it's social too, so you can see like I can go into my fucking daily updates and they'll be like charisma, and like it's similar to I'm similar to Zoe and Joanna and Wendeley today. Like in my self-respect, Pluto is inspiring you right now. This means that you have access to your power as a healer. Oh, that's cool. I haven't actually read this today.
I read mine today. I have a different app though.
I love so as Lauren says, CoStar's such a, and we love her. Like, but like this is what it like channel your suffering into art. I love the do's and don'ts. Like sometimes one time it was like hot bath and I was like yes, and then one time it was like old masters and I literally watched the old masters episode of Avatar, like and reread I didn't have a copy of East of Eden at the time, so I reread the I had written out by hand chapter 34 into a scrapbook and like when I was like 18 years old or something like that, so I reread that and then watched Avatar at the end of Shabbat because it was a Saturday. But yeah, like I love it when there's like candle. So what do I have? Dew, candles, soft sheets, wine by candlelight. Obviously not wine by candlelight because the girl don't drink, but I got hella candles, so I can do candles. Don't pedestals glued at the hip, couple names. channel your suffering into art, which is basically what my fucking tarot cards and or Kwanian Oracle deck said today.
And you should also feel accomplished because we are channeling currently.
As a collective, which my
This is our
Oracle
art
cards
project.
were also telling me to do the other day.
Yeah. So I'm going to get into Saturn return next. Because Saturn return
Tell me about
is
it.
something that actually applies to both of us. We have the same read on this because we were born in the same year.
Very
Saturn-
close to each other, so our Saturn returns are very... We're only a few weeks apart.
So Saturn in Pisces, so it's in Pisces currently, when Saturn returns to the same position it was when you were born. So basically, like 30 years ago, me and Katie were born, Saturn was in the sky in Pisces. This happens every 30 years, but it lasts a few years, and a general rule for a Saturn return is to expect significant challenges and a growth through a period, facing reality and cutting the excess. Saturn represents restriction, order, maturity, life lessons, discipline, and structure. But Pisces is deeply intuitive, introspective, compassionate, deals with unresolved emotions, creative dreaming, and idealizing. With Saturn in Pisces, there is a mismatch happening between the two seemingly very different archetypes. But it says a lot about the fortification of boundaries, the introspective processes of order and maturation, intuitive responses to life lessons, and discipline that can easily flow with the situation.
Those all resonate deeply with me.
Same, yeah. Like, one of the things they've said about Saturn in Pisces is it's one of the more spiritual Saturn returns to go through, and you'll see it a lot in your creative dreaming, your creativity, and your relationships. But like, what you can do to kind of get like a reading on yourself, right, through this Saturn return.
Baby girl. Oh, hey, poor baby. You got this. I believe in you.
What you can do to give yourself a personal reading on your Saturn return is to look at your rising sign. So that's why I started with rising sign too, right? So mine's in Leo, and Leo sits in the 8th house somehow in this amalgamation. Again, I'm not an astrologer, so I just know it says 8th house.
I don't know what the houses mean. Like,
So
my chart only has
I have a
houses.
link that I can get yours. I just need your rising sign. So just give me a second to read through mine and I'll get yours. So how this is going to come out in my life, Saturn return in Pisces for Leo in the 8th house. Themes of inheritance, taxes, investments, grants, debts, your partner's money, cycles of life and death. Saturn in the 8th house affects financial aid and sexual matters in which it restricts the person's attitude. People are strict. It suggests financial difficulties that relate to their spouse or their business. They tend to handle problems from other people, which can mean they can take on the responsibilities of other people. So that's my reading. And you know what? It strikes a fucking chord through and through, because you know what I did 3 years ago when Saturn return started? I applied for disability. And I'm at the end of it. Like, I'm at the end of the Saturn return, but my case isn't over. And so I'm feeling very much slighted by this Saturn return, not gonna lie. But that's like what it says about hard lessons and discipline, right? I've had to practice the discipline of patience.
I was gonna
during
say,
this. Like,
you learned
no
some
other
goddamn
motherfucker.
discipline.
That, and like, if I win this case, right, I don't know if anybody knows this about disability, but you get back pay. Like, you get all the time I've waited, I get paid for. So if I'm going to sit on this case for 4 years, there's a maximum amount you can get. Like, they don't just keep racking up the till, but like...
But they keep racking up the interest. Fuck this system. Sorry, that just...
So anyways, I decided to, because I lost my third appeal, the hearing that I had in September, and I decided to go through with a fourth appeal because fuck everything. I'm still trying, even if like I do lose the fourth time, I can't sit back and say I didn't try. And I think part of the maturation I'm like realizing is like, you don't give up. One of the things I'm very used to doing is giving up, because I'd rather, like it says, tend to handle the problems of other people and take on their responsibilities instead of handling my own. And this is very much like, I gotta handle this shit. Like, it's a matter of like my livelihood and my family for my partner.
Yeah.
So like, this reading is like spot on.
I was also gonna say I've seen you really, really start to like learn that lesson of like I need to handle my own shit. Like I'm like focusing too much on other people's shit, and I like focus so much more on yourself over the last few years too. Like I've like seen, I've like watched you do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I mean, and that's a really great lesson to fucking, you gotta look out for number one, you know, like,
Well,
and that
because here's
doesn't
the
mean fucking people over. It just means respecting your own boundaries
no,
and
yeah.
taking care of yourself. Like,
Well, so my thing is like I put myself to a detriment with it, right? Like I'm like I don't care about myself to the point where I'm like if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I roll because I that's how I felt before. And like it
mm-hmm,
took until September of this year for me to be like maybe I shouldn't put everything else before myself because if I take myself out, there's nothing else. And that was a
excuse me.
hard lesson of maturation to learn. Like that's not an easy lesson to learn. That's like facing death like straight up in the fucking eyeballs.
I mean,
It
it's
feels like
also,
it.
yeah, I mean, it's also a hard lesson to learn because our society doesn't teach us to value ourselves. Like, we are only valued so much as we can produce and consume. And, like, you're not, I've been saying this a lot, like, taking care of yourself is fucking the patriarchy because the patriarchy doesn't want you to give a fuck about yourself. They don't want you to value your time
Mm-hmm.
or choose to do something else with it. They don't want you to take care of yourself so that you can start taking care of other people in a real way and like you start be like you're meeting your spiritual needs. Like I am also meeting my spiritual needs for the first time in several years, and like it's easier to see the cracks in the system when you actually can like approach something from a clear perspective, when you don't hate yourself. And like
Mm-hmm.
I was telling this to my friend Chloe too. It was like being kind is also like fucking the patriarchy, because if we can be kind to each other and take care of ourselves and like hear about each other's needs, we might actually be able to take collective action. Like
Word.
this is the foundation I was talking about that we're laying for our world building. Like,
What's nice is I think that's a very common thing to think too. Like kindness does breed compassion. Like and we have to believe that. And I think everybody does on a certain level, but it's hard to know when you walk out into the world and people are all of a sudden not kind. But then it does make you realize when you are kind, that kindness spreads. Like you have to
mm-hmm.
be the harbinger of
Yeah.
kindness, sort of, right?
Yeah, but you can be kind while still upholding your boundaries. Like you can be kind and still be like, no, 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 this is unacceptable behavior to me. Like I will treat you kindly, but like you will not. Like I will no longer put up with this fucking behavior. Like I
Right.
won't, because I've been thinking, what is it in some fucked up romantic and sexual relationships in my day and age. And like I've been like is just pretending, like it's just acting like a, like is acting like a fucking white man the solution. I'm like, it's fucking not. It's not. Like it's not. Being a player is actually not the fucking solution. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
why I'm coming to that conclusion, because I'm
Well,
like, it's
would
not.
you like your rising reading for your Saturn
Oh my
return?
god, yes.
Sagittarius, right?
Sag, yeah.
So you're in the fourth house of home. Themes of family, ancestry, lineage, house, property, real estate, inner world, sense of belonging, and origin story. So those are like the themes that will be brought up in terms of your maturation discipline. Does that strike a chord in you at all? Oh,
Hey,
and it's just, to me, it's bringing up the thing you keep saying, which is like inner sanctity or the sanctity, right? Because Pisces is the spiritual. So like it could be literally referring to your inner world, like where
yeah.
you're putting yourself at home when you close your eyes or when you're
No,
meditating.
literally. I heard inner world and I was like, my daydreams, like my fucking, because that's a thing with Pisces that I really identify with, is constantly being in a fucking daydream.
Yeah. So like that's how that works out. Anyways, the last thing I wanted to talk about was Pluto in Aquarius. And so this is coming from Chani, her horoscopes for Pluto in Aquarius 2024. Now she did this blog like right after or right before Pluto re-entered Aquarius for I think the second time. And it basically Pluto in Aquarius does this thing where in 2023 it went boop boop like back from to Aquarius to back to Capricorn. Now for this little boop boop, it's the boop boop for 20 years. But anyways, wherever this planet burrows, Pluto, it tends to unearth whatever is false, corrupt, rotten to the core, and it brings our subterranean fears out of the shadows and into conscious awareness. In the collective-oriented sign of Aquarius, Pluto uncovers all the fractures and imbalances in our social order. It exposes the broken systems and toxic institutions we can overhaul for the better. Though yeah, this is no like little shits and giggles here.
And the song that I sent you before this was The Siren by Sophie Hunter, which is about like sounding the siren and being like, there's a better way to live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I was listening to it before too. I didn't like listen, but I had it playing and I was like, I vibe this. Like I hear the sound, right? Like siren, right? Mm-hmm. Though the word unprecedented has become cliche over the past few years, we'll continue to reach new points of no return and grapple with climate crisis, the expansion of big tech and the spread of AI, the rise of autocratic regimes, and the automation of war. These existential challenges affecting to all humanity, Pluto arrives in Aquarius right on time. Our billionaires, dictators, and warmongers will not relinquish control without a fight, but the planet of wealth, power, mystery, death, and transformation is here to revolutionize the hive mind and mobilize the masses.
You love to see it.
Love to see it. Collectively, we're here for it.
We're all like, yeah, let's start. I love the... Yeah, we need to start organizing, start laying the groundwork for organizing somehow.
So this cute little thing she writes: organizing a community garden or distributing an anarchist zine may seem like a minor gesture, but the ripples of rebellion can become massive waves, especially when Pluto is plugged into our group endeavors.
Did I not? So it was before we started recording, but we were talking about how I was in a car crash recently, and like I've been really fucked up with I've been having a lot of trouble regulating myself afterwards, and really like feeling withdrawn, but like not trying to like withdraw too much, because the last time I was in an accident like this, I like was suicidal for months afterwards. I'm trying to be a little different, and one of the things that's brought me a lot of comfort and joy was all of these like gardening videos, like this permaculture. Like I've been learning about permaculture. I've been learning about been watching a lot of community gardening videos, like organizing and being like, we need to like, this is how we sustainably raise things. This is how we collect water. This is how we do this. Like we mimic the environment that we're in, and blah, blah, blah. And it's given me so much hope. And I can't believe. Also, been to an anarchist collective bookstore recently, in the last 6 months. Like my friend, my friend Katie and I are about like trying to be on our anarchist bullshit. And I'm like, I'm here for it. Burn it all the fuck down. Like,
so
I feel so seen.
I know, right? But like, wait till I read this.
Oh God.
Pluto in Aquarius teaches us that we can rebuild a kinder world from the rubble of the past when we work together towards shared dream for a more compassionate, equitable future. Thank you for listening to this episode of Fast from the Other Side. I'm just kidding.
I was literally like, oh my God, I'm going to start crying. And you're like, outro, let's go. We're almost at an hour. We got to get the fuck out. I'm so relieved to see, because this is after a conversation where I was like, it might just like, we might not have a world, like we might not be able to, like I was just getting all like, is it too late for us? Like I recently in the last like week or so was like, oh my God, is it too late? And it's not actually.
I won't say that astrology is looking good for 2025. I'm not going to say like, okay, so Pluto in Aquarius is a good thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of 2025, okay, so I have this other astrologer that I follow, and I follow her for a particular reason. Because she, her name's Valkyrie of the Vordur, which means the Valkyrie of the Veil in English. And she wrote an article January 3rd talking about spiritual war 2025 and tools for what's to come. And basically she names a couple dates in 2025. Neptune moves into Aries on March 30th. Saturn moves into Aries on May 25th. Uranus enters Gemini on July 7th. And days before that, Neptune starts its first retrograde in Aries on July 4th. Which is a huge American holiday. So it's like no joke. Like these things are kind of no joke. Like America is being, this is what I wrote in an article like a year ago. I said, America is being dialed by the universe. Except we're picking up a rotary phone and the universe is trying to dial us on an iPhone. Like, and America's like, what? I can't hear you.
I
It's like, bitch, get your cell phone.
I try to call you on the car phone. I wonder what I like CoStar told me. Oh my god, this is so funny. You're 2025 in love. Number of crushes 7, and you'll pit them against each other to see who wins your affection. And I was like, literally, Scott Pilgrim versus the world.
We love to see it.
You love to see it. Time's heart will break. 0. Heartbreak is a scientific impossibility. Next question.
I love that. She is a little bit see you next Tuesday. Charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
What was it? 2025 resolutions. Answer people's messages the same day. Stop explaining yourself. Drink more water, not just coffee. I was like, are you listening?
Called out. Called out.
Called out.
I use the Chani app for astrology, so I just got it because I didn't have an astrology app before, but I literally downloaded it for this episode. I like the aesthetic of it. It's cute. But I have my birth chart like all paid for and stuff. It's been cute to read my horoscope every day because it's just like a little like affirmational encouragement about the energy of the day, and I feel like it's nice to go into a day or even out of a day knowing about what the day was like.
I've had some weird ones where I'm like, this is like actually too much for me to fucking deal with. Like, this is so accurate. Oh my god, this is so funny. This is from Wednesday. The previous 3 days of CoStar, like, little notifications were so on point. So this is Wednesday. Write your day at a glance. Write a love poem to yourself. The day before, Tuesday, New Year's Eve, it will be worth the risk. The 30th. If you're acting from emotion alone, you're trapped.
Damn.
But I was like, oh god. But I'm also like, again, my nervous system is so frayed. Like, why can't I act from emotion alone?
Thank you for listening to this episode of Files from the Other Side. You can find us on Instagram at Files from the Other Side. Share this podcast on Instagram, Facebook, wherever.
Spotify,
do whatever
YouTube,
you gotta do.
All the things. We're everywhere, baby. Subscribe.
Give us a
Follow.
review, dude.
I want to know.
Yeah, I want to know what you guys are thinking.
Do you
Leave
have
that review.
directions? We have.
And I'll comment back.
I will say that I will try to, and then not open Instagram for another month.
I'll give you a deal. If you're listening to this episode and you DM me, because you can, if you DM me on Instagram, either on Files from the Other Side or Skyler's Period Scheme of Tonics, I will pull a tarot card for you if you leave us a review. There you go. There's your offer, okay?
Damn.
So, there we are.
I love it. See you on the other side.